Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome back once again to the Farts and Crap Show, or for the very first time, this is Stick Tips, where I talk about controllers, how to fix them, make them better, clean them, whatever. Some tips I have for the controllers you may want to use. Today I'm going to be looking at the Voyi Design Wii Classic controller for the Wii and Wii U, obviously. And preemptively grabbed a 3.0 Phillips head screwdriver and my Locktite Funtac mounting putty because I was hoping to tighten up some of the rattlies on this guy, because if you shake one of these things around a little bit, just kind of shake it in your hand, you will hear a lot of plastic against plastic rattling, and these things are incredibly light too. I mean, I know it's just like a plastic shell, some PCBs and stuff like that, but even all those things considered, compared to my other controllers, these things feel like almost nothing. So let's go ahead and get into it. I'll show you guys my process, slowly kind of going into how I felt, and lastly my recommendation. So here's a close-up on the controller. As you can tell, no Wii logo in sight, because I don't think Nintendo would ever officially license these things. After removing 7 Phillips head screws from the back of the shell, I noticed the ZL and ZR on the back were just kind of stuck in place. They didn't have any sort of mechanism. They were just kind of molded so they couldn't come out, and they couldn't move around too much. And unfortunately, the PCB for the shoulder button inputs kind of just like slid in there, and there was no like mounting part, which is weird, or even like a little slot for them to go into. They kind of just like hang out in there, which would explain why a lot of the times when I hit ZL or ZR, it didn't register. So here is the the front side, including the little sliding plank, I guess I'd call that, for the LR, ZL, ZR inputs. One thing I will say to their credit, actually no, these are terribly designed. I wasn't gonna say no. They're so bad. Also, I've never seen a straight brown PCB like that, and it's only held in place by, well, I guess the cable, which again seems like it'd be very snug right there. No, it slipped right out, and there's one Phillips head screw holding this to the shell. Another bad sign. And for the darker, smaller PCB there, which houses the 2 analog sticks, if they can so be called, held on by one Phillips head screw. Thankfully, same size, so I could use my 3.0 gauge Phillips head screwdriver for this entire process. Now here's the front of the PCBs. I've never seen this blue, like a two-tone design before on any other controller I've dissected. And a very large blob of just like black plastic stuff. I don't know what that's called. I've never really done much electrical engineering in my day. But yeah, the start, select, and home, which is weird because that's not a naming convention, the Wii uses. It's plus, minus, and home, but whatever. I mean, everything's clearly labeled, so I'll give them that. I don't know what AU, AL, AR, and AD is. Like, I mean, it's up, down, left, and right, but what's the A for? Action? It's not analog, I'll tell you that. So yeah, I have no idea what that is. Also, the analog stick caps don't come off. I tried removing the right one. It seemed to be glued on or something. And I peeked out under, beneath it, and there's a very strange looking module there. Because I was curious about it, because these things are so stiff. Like, they require a lot of force just to move off axis. And they really don't do well with diagonal inputs. Or gradients of any kind of inputs. Like, these things are kind of glorified D-pads. They barely even qualify as analog sticks. So, let's keep going, shall we? Now here's the front again, with the conductive rubber membranes for the D-pad and the ABXY buttons. These are exactly as they are in the other Chinese knockoff Wii Classic controllers that I owned by Poulep, P-O-U-L-E-P. It's still a brand you can find on Amazon, and it was the first set of classic controllers that I had for my Wii when I first bought it, like years ago. And they died in a couple weeks' time. They did not hold up to any sort of punishment, and I was very careful with those things. They just stopped working. To the credit of this controller, the ABXY actually feel pretty good. That was kind of the only thing that felt good. The D-pad wasn't terrible, but as we'll get into with the close-up here, it's kind of bittersweet with the D-pad. So the plastic mold I really like. Yeah, surprisingly, I found something I really like on here. I do like how the center part is kind of rounded a little bit. Doesn't feel like, I don't feel like it would be like stabbing the PCB in any way. And I did really like the more definite indentations for the conductive rubber pads of the up, down, left, right. That was great, but they didn't mold the conductive rubber super well, and if you can see, I don't know if you can see it in this picture, there's actually like some ink. Like the inside of the controller was dirty. Like there was like debris in there, and this was new. It's supposed to be a new set. I don't know if they just repackaged an older pair, or like if their manufacturing facility doesn't have the best cleanliness standards. I don't know. If they're new, it makes me concerned for where these things are actually made. But anyway, it's that D-pad hard plastic mold is the only positive I can say about this, in general. And for whatever reason, as you can see, the top part was cut off. Like it's flat and not rounded like the bottom for the down. Which is, again, strange to see. I'm not sure why they did that. Pretty sure they had room inside the controller. So yeah, I just put it back together and remembered, oh yeah, I have a PDP fight pad for Wii U. I actually have 4 of these controllers because they are officially licensed. You can find them new for a reasonable price, still sub $30 almost everywhere you look on Amazon, except for certain variants. The Mario and Metal Mario ones are more expensive, and these prices do fluctuate depending on who has them in stock. I have never paid even $20 for one of these, I usually get them between 10 and 20, somewhere in there. I think one time I even got it for less than 10. It was like $9, but I had to pay like $5 in shipping. But still, like 14, very decent price for a new GameCube style controller. Now, the downside here obviously is the D-pad is the GameCube style D-pad. It's small, it's raised, it's very awkward to use. But unless you're playing a 2D game, like your Metroids, your Castlevanias, your classic Marios, you're not going to be using the D-pad very much. Especially if you're playing N64 on your Wii U, because the 64 almost never used the D-pad as an input method. I actually use this controller a lot on my PS4 with my Wii U, Switch, PS4, PC adapter thing from Brook, but I'm still working on that episode of Stick Tips, guys. That should be the next one. It should be 11 of just adapters, because I've used a lot and I have a lot to say on the topic. So that will be a long episode with a lot of very tightly packed information. Not as much gameplay because that episode is going to be long enough. And yeah, this is why I went third party in the first place. Because I don't usually buy used controllers, especially nowadays. And new is about $60 for a Nintendo brand Wii Classic controller. And that's on the that's the cheapest variant. That is the least expensive. Because if you want the Pro style, it's like 100 plus. And yeah, so I thought, same form factor, maybe these are okay. No, they're not. They're not. So that's why I didn't actually modify this controller at all. I repackaged it, sending this shit back, because I paid about $16.99 free shipping, and I thought, cool, about $8 per controller, get a pair of them. If they're decent, that's a really good deal. If they're absolute garbage, it's a waste of money. And it was. So, if you don't need a full-size D-pad and all the inputs, because yes, in a previous episode of Stick Tips, I think it was episode 2 or 3, it was pretty early, I talked about the Hyperkin SNES to Wii adapter. It's a hardware adapter that lets you use a Super Nintendo controller on a Wii or Wii U as a classic controller, and that works so well. However, let's just say if you don't have all the inputs you need, a Super Nintendo controller it had a lot more inputs than the NES, but it doesn't have a home button, it's missing 2 shoulder buttons, and it doesn't have analog sticks. So if you need any of those things for your games, then you can't really use it. So it sounds like an awesome thing. Like, oh man, an original Super Nintendo controller I can use on my current system. Oh dude, yes. Give me that. And if you don't have one, like 8BitDo makes amazing products in that category. And I actually have used their 2.4 gigahertz SNES pad for the Super Nintendo Classic, and that actually does work on the Wii and Wii U. However, it's a wireless signal going to a thing that's using a wireless connection method. It works surprisingly well, but those are two separate controllers you'd have to charge. So, not great by any means. In fact, that's one of my biggest gripes about the Wii U is no wired controllers, except for the GameCube controllers, which was only supported by Smash Brothers, I think. I don't think there was any other games that would actually let you use them. So that was bad. But, yeah, that's gonna do it for this episode of Stick Tips, guys. In case you guys have been chillin', jamming to the music, I'm just gonna, leave you guys with a little bit of gameplay with my fight pad plugged into my Wiimote, because this is Super Mario 64 running on the Wii U on the Virtual Console. So, yeah. Thank you for stopping by. I hope you have a beautiful day. Many blessings on your journey, whatever it might be. Don't forget to like and subscribe on your way out. That'd be very, very cool of you. And until next time, game on.